It is time, the final mock draft of this 2025 draft season. It's the Peacock mock coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Now let's talk my mock draft, Croc. We're going to go back to the first round. It's the same player I've had in the first round for a while now, and it's almost seeming like he's not going to be there potentially for the San Francisco 49ers at 11. One of the reasons I liked him is because this is one player I can mock to the 49ers who I'm pretty sure is going to be there, fits a lot of needs, checks a lot of boxes for the 49ers, and that is Georgia defensive end Mykel Williams. He's the best run-defending defensive end in this draft. He's got pass rushing upside. He's got positional flexibility that you could move him around to do some things. He's a selfless player, did what was asked of him at the University of Georgia. He's a high character player. He is a very good athlete. He might not be quite as freaky with his explosion as someone like Shamar Stewart, but he is a better football player, and he can finish. He's got burst off the line. He's got that get-off, Croc. When we talk about defensive linemen, we heard John Lynch talk about it yesterday in his pre-draft presser, that get-off, and they even have their own get-off metrics for these prospects. More on that later in this mock draft. He's got get off and he's got a closing burst as well and is a good finisher. And I think there's tons of upside as the youngest defensive lineman in this class, just 20 years old, to be even better and develop some more better hand usage, better technique. I mean, he's a clean prospect. And right now he's still my favorite and most likely player for the San Francisco 49ers, barring some of these other bizarre circumstances we're talking about here. Mykel Williams at pick number 11 for the San Francisco 49ers. He's my guy.
You did a great job of selling him to not just myself, but the rest of the 49er fan base. I think he fits. I think he fits a big need for the 49ers. And the way I kind of explained it is there's been a void in the defenses, losing guys like Charles Omenihu and Arden Key. Now, the pushback would be, well, you don't draft those guys at 11. I'd say the pushback to that is, well, he could be a better prospect than those guys.
My second round projection for the San Francisco 49ers, though, and I'm going, this is kind of half predictive mock draft, Croc, and half kind of what I would do. And partially just, I want to throw some different names out there and some different reasons why the 49ers could go with some players that, because, you know, we've done the 30 visit thing, and there's a lot of popular names that show up in a lot of mock drafts for the 49ers. I just want to throw a few different names out there that I think are somewhat likely as well. In round 2, I'm going TJ Sanders, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. And it was tough for me here. If you go defensive end in round 1, like Mykel Williams, I think you got to go defensive tackle in round 2, unless one of those top offensive tackles falls to round 2. And so it's between Tyleik Williams here, Carson Schlesinger, you know, Ariante Ursery probably would be the ones I was considering placing here. I think there's some dark horses as well. If you go tackle in the first round, then maybe you go Nick Scorton here. I think Shamar Turner is another defensive tackle that's kind of close to TJ Sanders as far as explosive interior pass rushers. I just like TJ Sanders' pass rush repertoire a little bit more. Turner plays like a maniac. Turner has a little injury problem going on as well. Shamar Stewart's teammate, Shamar Turner. A lot of Shamars on that defensive line at Texas A&M. But TJ Sanders, why TJ Sanders here? Well, it's because I want to mention James Pierce is another name that could fall out of the first round and potentially be an option for the 49ers if they do go with a different possession and looking for that edge rusher in round 2. Also, we want to talk dark horses, right? Let's get crazy. Keep Kyle Shanahan keeps adding offensive players, Croc. Go Gray Zabel in the first round. What about Luther Burden falling to the 49ers? Could Kyle Shanahan pass up on that? He is too perfect for Kyle Shanahan. What about Travion Henderson going running back in round 2, right? Like that, those things could absolutely happen. So I just want to prepare the fans for how nuts this could potentially be on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the draft. But anyway, back to TJ Sanders, Croc. Why I like TJ Sanders? Well, let's talk about get off for the 49ers defensive line. And he had the best 10-yard split of every defensive tackle at the combine or at pro days in this class. A 1.67 10-yard split. He is a really good interior pass rusher. I think I like him over Omar Norman Lott because I think he's got more potential to be an every down defensive tackle. 3 technique with pass rush ability. He, where is he? TJ Sanders. There it is. 1.67 10-yard split. He ran a 4.95 40, which is solid for a 300-pounder. I don't think he played at 300 pounds. I think he's more like 290 at South Carolina. but he got up to just a hair under 6'4". So 6'3" and 7/8, 305. That's right in line with what Mason Graham and Walter Nolan weighed in at their pro days. And so that's where TJ Sanders got his weight up to. It was a little bit heavier. I think he was 297 at the combine, got up to 305 for his pro day. He didn't run at the combine, though, but ran at the heavier weight at his pro day and threw down the 495 with a 167 10-yard split. He's got a little bit longer arms than Mason Graham, 33 1/4. He uses his hands well as a pass rusher. He's got that explosive get off. He's got some pass rush ability. Not an amazing run defender, but we're looking at a 3 technique. And when you look at all the 49ers interest lists and you look at their 30 visits, they are looking for players that get upfield. And TJ Sanders is that. And so that's why I went TJ Sanders over Tyleik Williams here. But if you want the best run defending combination, you go Michael Williams in the first round, Tyleik Williams in the second round. I'm going TJ Sanders here out of South Carolina in round 2.
49ers got to get big in the trenches. They just have to, especially in the interior there. So.
And that's what this draft's all about for me as well. And then I stayed in the trenches and in some order, defensive end, defensive tackle, offensive line in the top 3 picks for the 49ers. And in this scenario where you go end, you go tackle, I go offensive tackle. One of my favorite sleepers in this draft, Charles Grant out of William and Mary. He was not a 30 visit for the 49ers, Croc, but you know what they did? They went to him. They went to William and Mary and had a private workout. And you have to declare your 30 visits so everybody knows what those are, but you don't have to declare the private workouts and some of these other meetings that you have. So there's a lot of meetings we don't know about. This one was reported by, I'm not sure, but it's on Steph Sanchez's at Steph 49K's list of they had a private workout, and he's got projectable traits to be an offensive tackle, and offensive tackle isn't quite as pressing of a need right now today. So I think Charles Grant fits fantastically for the 49ers to draft at pick 75 in the 3rd round, starting traits at offensive tackle and a bit raw, small school guy. They can develop him and get him ready to become a starter at tackle. They can use him as a swing tackle early. They can use him they let him compete at left guard early if they want. And actually in the Beast, Dane Brugler compared Charles Grant as a smaller school guy, like he compared him to Spencer Burford, which I thought was really interesting. And I'd already liked him for the Niners, and that was an interesting connection there. So Charles Grant, love the fit for the 49ers in round 3.
Yeah, Spencer Burford, a guy who's a terrific athlete coming out of UTSA. So Charles Grant, if you're comparing him, at least you know he has the athleticism part down, which is somewhat surprising as to why the 49ers didn't try Spencer Burford at tackle. But maybe Charles Grant a little bit more
project athletically and lengthwise as a tackle more than McKivitz and even more than Dominic Pooney in some ways. And so we might see him actually as the swing tackle this year. We'll see. But Charles Grant is just so Burford was a 4th rounder. Charles Grant got him in the 3rd round, pick 75. He's a tick better, a little longer, bigger, a little more athletic. So he's like Burford plus athletically to me is what he is. And guess what, Croc? To end round 3, there was a lot of ways I was thinking, man, do you go Oladejo here, like Makuba at safety, Marcus Bowe.
Oladejo, the edge rusher out of UCLA?
UCLA, yeah. The 49ers love him. People have been talking about him in the 2nd round. He's not a developed pass rusher to go that high for me. He's a 3rd round guy, even late 3rd round for me. So I don't know if he'd be there. I didn't project him here for the 49ers. There's Chris Paul out of Ole Miss. Really popular pick for the 49ers. We like the way he plays. There's some shortcomings in his game. But I stayed in the trenches, and I picked another big defensive tackle this time. And that's going to be a theme for this mock draft is the complementary skill sets of the 2 ends and the 2 tackles. So there's another defensive end coming. CJ West, defensive tackle out of Indiana. There has been some meetings. They met formally at the combine. He wasn't a 30 visit or anything like that. But CJ West, for a guy who could play that one shade, that nose, that interior big man position, there's a lot of similarities to CJ West's game as there was for DJ Jones, and they still haven't replaced DJ Jones adequately in the 49ers defense. And Croc, let's do it again. Let's talk get off. CJ West, even though he's got that stout sort of a nose tacklish build, he can get upfield a little bit. 6'1", 316. But guess what? He ran 4.95 40. Same as TJ Sanders. Same as Derek Harmon. 4.95 40-yard dash. And guess what? He had a faster 10-yard split than Derek Harmon. So he can get off the line. He's got some get off there. And very stout against the run. I like CJ West. I had him going here to end round 3 at pick number 100. moving this along a little bit here, Croc. Going with, and so here's my theory. I'm going to wait on linebacker because you know what, man? I just don't know if they're going to find that starter outside of basically Jihad Campbell, Carson Schlesinger. If you're outside of round 2, I don't think you're going to find that immediate starter at linebacker. So you're drafting and developing. And so to me, that's why I'm waiting. I said, you know what? You could find a starting defensive lineman at this point in the draft. You might find a corner that could be that number 3 corner for you that can compete that you might not be able to find later in the draft. And so I waited on linebacker. And if you really need a starting linebacker, I think you might have to go to the trade market, go to the street free agent market and try that again. And then let some late round guys, some day 3 guys compete, see what you get there. Maybe you get lucky and compete with D Winters. So that's my strategy right now at linebacker for the 49ers, just the way this whole draft fell. I don't think you have to, I don't have to try to, I don't have to draft like a Chris Paul at pick 75. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm going to wait at linebacker. I went Noel Williams though, out of Cal. I think there's a good chance the Niners could end up with a guy from Oregon, Cal, Texas Tech has some interesting players. Rogers, who didn't make my mock draft, an offensive lineman that had the best short shuttle and was a 30 visit. So Caleb Rogers, I didn't get him into my mock draft. I actually didn't love the tape that much, but he fits the Shanahan profile recently for an interior offensive lineman. So watch out for that name. Didn't get to make my mock draft. I went Noel Williams, cornerback out of Cal. You said you liked him. I went back to the tape, and I loved what I saw from Noel Williams. He is smooth. He's an awesome he's good in man coverage. He's physical. He's got awesome ball skills, 7 interceptions. This dude can play 4.50, 40-yard dash, 6'1", 200. And if he doesn't work out at corner, I think he could be an awesome safety in the league potentially as well. But I like him at corner and is that outside number 3 corner with Demo going inside and competing for the number 3 job there. So I got Noel Williams out of Cal, the cornerback, early in round 4.
And watching him, I believe he was at the East-West Shrine game, the way he, competed against those guys. Because it's one thing, playing, conference play, but going to an all-star game, doing the same thing, put on kind of a technical, and there was a bad rep here and there. But for the most part, he was pretty damn good at the all-star game. It really showed some big-time ability. Probably would have liked to see him run 4.5 flat is really good, or it's good. You would have liked to see kind of 4.4 or something, but overall, especially at that size, 6'1", 200 pounds, that was more than good enough.
Interesting. JD in the chat says Central Arkansas. Croc, you know a little something about Arkansas. Where is the University of Central Arkansas? Because my next prospect comes from the University of Central Arkansas. David Walker. I'm going with another defensive lineman. This is an edge. This is a guy with instant pass rush. If you're developing Michael Williams pass rush, you need a little juice off the edge. I'm going David Walker here in round 4. Central Arkansas. He's an undersized guy. He's not going to be for everybody. Small school and undersized, bad combination. But you know what? He dominated. He's 6'1", 260. He's got moves on moves. He brings power to his game as well. He's got leverage with that short stature. Love this guy. He's really fun. I don't know where he's going to go. He's projected kind of in the 4th round range. And I'm just doubling up on defensive end. I'm doubling up on defensive tackle and drafting complementary skill sets, very different guys. Big run defender, more pass rusher. And that's what David Walker is, the pass rusher, but brings surprising strength. And in fact, at 6'1", or a little under 6'1", he's similar weight to Michael Williams, actually. So, that's how stout this dude is. But he's got a bag as a pass rusher. Short arms, 31 inches. So I don't know how that's going to translate to the league. So that's why he's going to go later than what his statistics say he should, because he's like 8, 12, 12, 10 sacks of the last 4 years at Central Arkansas and a different Arkansas. Is that by Arkansas Monticello, Croc?
About 2 hours away.
Okay.
It's more north. I believe UCA is in, that's what the UCA, University of Central Arkansas. It's in Conway, I believe. About 20 minutes, like kind of northwest of Little Rock. So right up there off, I want to say the I-40. So yeah.
I'm going to bring up the rest of my mock draft here because we're running out of time here. And I just want to talk about the last few players on my list. I've got Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, running back out of Arizona, is the running back I landed on here. Got to draft a day 3 running back. There's a lot of options. This dude's explosive though. 4.45 speed, a 41-inch vertical. You watch his tape, man. He put his foot in the ground and he can go. He's got moves in the open field. And then I did hit linebacker here on the later 5th round. I went Nick Martin, linebacker out of Oklahoma State. Again, I wanted to bring some different names to this mock draft that we haven't seen, but that are fits for the 49ers. And Nick Martin was to be honest with you, one of the closest players I watched to the way Dre Greenlaw plays, because they're the same exact height, 5'11 and a half. Nick Martin in the 220s, a little bit lighter, but he is fast, ran 4.53. He comes downhill. He gets to the ball carriers, and he's not tall. But, man, I think Nick Martin right now is being slept on. Linebacker out of Oklahoma State, should be a special teamer right away as well. Traded up with a couple of those 7th rounders. Niners have 3 7th rounders. I think they're going to want to close that gap between round 5 and round 7. So I double dipped at the University of Cal, went with Craig Woodson, who is an underrated safety, 4.45 speed, 6 feet, 200 pounds, really solid, played a lot of football in his career, was at the 49ers local pro day. And I finished it up with one of my favorite guys that I identified early in the process as a Kyle Shanahan quarterback, Curtis Rourke, quarterback, Indiana. He tore his ACL, played through a torn ACL all year. He throws with anticipation. He's 6'4", 220. He's got some good size. He's got a nice arm. He doesn't wow you physically, but man, he is a Kyle Shanahan quarterback if I've ever seen one, and might have to medical redshirt with the torn ACL for his rookie year. But the Niners are set right now with their 1-2 at quarterback. They got Tanner Mordecai there as well, but potentially a long-term backup, cheap, and able to get him in the 7th round because of that injury where he might go a little bit earlier otherwise. So that's my mock draft. That's my final mock draft for the San Francisco 49ers. Could go this way, could go a lot of ways, Croc, but I can't wait for it tomorrow.
It snuck your guy in there at the tail end. Torn ACL, I'd expect him to go undrafted and have somebody pick him up. But like you said, a medical red shirt, bring him in. We're talking about 7th round pick, and you get the red shirt, doesn't count against your roster. Why not?
There you go. Let us know what you think. We'll see you tomorrow at Broadway Studios at the 49ers Rush Draft Party. Diamondor Lenore is going to be there. Peacock will be there. We will do a live podcast there after the Niners make their selection. Otherwise, we'll be hanging out with 49ers fans, Watson's draft. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And with that, it's draft time, Croc. It is here. We'll talk to you again after the Niners make their pick Thursday night right here. Locked On 49ers.